Okay. All right. I think we're rolling. I should actually probably just make sure. For anybody who's joining us, good morning. Today is Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day. It's 8:30 in the morning where we are. I just want to make sure that we are actually streaming. So I'm going to look real quick to make sure that on our channel it shows that we're going. Oh yeah, there it is. It says Joel Scan live stream. I wish I could change that. I'll figure that out later. All right. So what we are going to start our day with is some spelling, and I actually figured out how to change the text. So I'm going to put this up. Spelling. We're going to do about 15 minutes or so of spelling. So if you want to review with us what we started yesterday, we'll do that. If you have your own spelling that you're doing, you can practice that now. You could put us on mute, or you could go along with us. Emma and Jacob are in 4th and 6th grade, and we are going through age-appropriate words. So, let's start by reviewing the words we're working on are words that end in ibble. Okay? So, ibble is spelled, I'm going to write it up here, in case anyone wants to see. I-B-L-E. And so we're going to end, that's hard to see. So we're going to end all of our words with ibble. We just have to figure out the rest. You guys ready? Let's say hi to Jacob this morning. You ready?
Wallets. Very good.
Say hi to Emmeline. Good morning.
Your hair is amazing. Yes, I know, Jacob.
All right, let's begin. First word is incredible. Incredible. If you're not sure how to start with that, split it up into its syllables. Incredible.
I-B-L.
You guys are fast. All right, I'm going to put it up on the screen so everybody can see. Did you guys spell it right?
Yep.
N-I-N, cred, C-R-E-D, ibble. Nice. Next one, visible. The boat was visible from the shore. Visible. All right. You guys are done already? Here we go. Take a look. V-I-S-I-B-L-E. Viz. Ibble. What are the two sounds that S can make by itself, guys?
Z and
It
Z.
can say S and it can say Z.
We said the
Correct.
opposite.
All right, next word, legible. Legible means you can understand what's or read what's being written. So your handwriting should be legible today. You already done? All right, legible. What'd you get?
L-A-G-I-B-L-E.
L-E-G-I-B-L-E. Why does the G say J instead of legible? Because if we covered up the ibble, wouldn't it just say leg?
Sure.
Why does it say legible?
The
The I after the G makes the G say J. So E-I after a G and sometimes Y will make it say J. Yeah? Okay, next word, horrible. Horrible. I hope you did not have a horrible day yesterday. Do you want any hints on this one? No, you guys don't like hints. All right, horrible.
I know this.
Hey, Jake, can you be careful not to bump the table?
Yeah.
Buddy? Thanks. All right, what'd you get?
Correct.
Make sure you have two R's.
I have two R's.
Oh, a teeny tiny little R you squeezed in there. H-O-R-R. Horrible has two R's. Tricky. All right, flexible. My children are very flexible. I, however, am not. Hey, what are you doing?
Looking.
You're spelling. Don't. All right, flexible. How do you spell it? Go.
F-E-L-X-I-B.
F-E-L?
Yeah.
No?
F-L-E.
There you go.
F-L-E. X-I-B-L-E.
Flex. Flex, just like it sounds. Ibble, flexible. Next one, collectible, collectible. This one will definitely help to split it up into its syllables. Let me just make sure everything's still looking good on that. Okay, looking good. I've got a few extra tabs open here. I'm trying to get rid of them. All right, collectible. Tricky one with the two L's. Collect. Two closed
These are
syllables.
all
Collectible. Next one, audible. If you can hear me, then my voice is audible. Audible. What did you get for audible?
Audible.
All right, let's talk about what makes that one tricky. The AU says ah. That is a vowel team together that can say ah. Okay? Audible. Last one from our words this week is edible. Edible meaning you can eat it. These words are not edible. Ed, ed, just like it sounds. Ibble, edible. Nicely done. Okay, what I'm going to give you now are some sentences with these words. And you guys are going to write the sentence. And then I'll write the sentence up on the board. Okay? Oh, hey. Those are words for next week. All right. You guys ready? Oh, we just did that word. That's all right. Here's sentence number 1. Neither the storks nor the sharks found the shellfish stew edible.
This sentence is so random.
I know. Neither the storks nor the sharks found the shellfish stew edible. Hello.
Hello.
Mom's diligently writing her sentence. How about you? Hiding from the camera. All right. It's now gone from you.
Thank you.
Neither the storks nor the sharks found the shellfish stew edible. Oh, actually, I can type it. I can put it up on the screen.
Storks and starks or sharks?
Neither the storks
Well, okay, I heard that.
nor the sharks. It looks like I need to reposition my text so that it can be seen. Oof. I'm going to have to get better at this. Neither the storks nor the sharks found it edible.
Okay, done.
Found the shellfish stew.
The shellfish stew. That's a tongue twister. There we go. I'm actually going to hide the camera. There we go. And let's get a period at the end of there, Joel. There we go. All right, neither. What kind of word is neither? N-E-I. Normally I comes before E except after C or if it sounds like A. But in this one, it's a rule break. Neither the storks nor the sharks found the shellfish. And I spelled shellfish wrong on here. How did you guys spell shellfish?
Shellfish.
Cool. Shellfish has 2 L's. Shellfish. Because it's a compound word, right? 2 words, shell and fish. Mm-hmm. Can you leave that alone? The stew, edible. And what is the vowel team at the end of stew?
E-W.
E-W. Okay.
But W.
Next sentence. Next sentence. Ready? She yelled so loudly that her cries were audible in the next town. She yelled so loudly that her cries were audible in the next town. Okay, I'm I'll type it up on the screen and put it up in a second. She yelled so loudly that her cries were audible. Oops. Go to the next slide. In the next town. Alrighty. And maybe this is easy for you out there if you're watching, or maybe it's tricky, but just do your best. Alright. Let me go live and make sure it's actually showing what I want it to show. There we go. Alrighty. She yelled so loudly. How do you spell yelled? What do you think, guys?
Y-E-L-L-E-D.
Yep, yell is Y-E-L-L. It's got the double syllable at the end of the single syllable word. So loudly that her cries. How do you spell cries?
C-R-I-E-S.
Yes, how do you spell cry, Emmeline?
C-R-Y.
Y. So when we turn it into cries, we have to drop the Y and turn it into I-E. We're audible. We just went over that one a minute ago. In the next town. And what's the vowel team in town?
O-W.
O-W. Nice job. Okay, last sentence. Do you think these old stamps are collectible items? Do you think these old stamps are collectible items?
Those are these.
Do you think these old stamps are collectible items? Okay, I'll give you a minute to finish up. Do you think these old stamps are collectible items? All right. There it is. Do you think these, how do you spell these, Jacob?
T-H-E-S-E.
E-S-E, good. Old stamps are collectible, which we just went over. And the tricky one, items. How do you spell item?
I-T.
Daddy,
M.
if you ask anybody who has played Minecraft, they're gonna know.
Everybody who plays Minecraft knows how to spell items. Awesome.
I used to, but I still know most things.
Oh, I can put it on top of me.
Huh?
All right.
He's a gibberish person.
Alrighty. That's going to be enough for a little bit of spelling review. If you want to do more or need to do more, you can always copy words later. Oh, do you guys want to actually, hey, stop. Put your feet up. Feet down and sit up, please. Feet on the floor. Thank you. Actually, I'm going to give you guys each 2 words. And if you're watching, you can pick 2 words and make your own sentence, okay? Emmeline, cycling and achieved. Jacob, your words are going to be deserved and celebrating. Make up a sentence with those words. And if you're listening with us, you can use any of those words. Cycling, achieved, deserved, and celebrating. Let's see what you come up with. Yeah, I don't have any theme music, unfortunately. But that will distract Emmeline, so
Dang it,
let's
that's
pause the
Jeopardy
theme
music.
music.
Okay,
Yes, the
let me-
Jeopardy music.
Big question.
So in case you're wondering, I am using All About Spelling, and we're currently in level 6. We've been working through All About Spelling since the kids started, and we've liked it a lot. It's got a nice rhythm you get into. It doesn't take too long each day, although you could spend as much time as you need. And yeah, they work through one spelling concept at a time, starting with learning all the letters and moving all the way through all of the various English spelling rules, the 30 however many there are. If you have any questions, you can
How do
of
you
course
spell
let me know.
Spell Cirque du Soleil. No, so Cirque. Wait, no,
C-I-R.
no, wait, no, no, no. No.
Soleil?
So yeah.
I think it's Soleil is how you spell it.
And then CIRQ.
No.
Circ.
Yeah, but all spelled funny.
I know. That's what I'm saying. CIRQU.
And Jacob, did you get your sentence yet? Your words are deserved and celebrating. We're going to hear your sentences in a second. And then I'll put your sentences up soon enough.
Okay, done.
Can't think of anything.
Finish.
Emmeline finished. All right, Emmeline, let's hear your sentence. I'm going to type it while you talk.
Why?
So that I can put it on the screen for them to see. Go.
Okay. With my cycling skills, I am sure to achieve a top place in the Cirque du Soleil. Or however you pronounce that. How do you pronounce that?
Cirque du Soleil. Yeah, I think there's an L at the end for Cirque du Soleil.
Really?
So you turn achieved into achieve, which is fine. I'm sure to achieve what?
A top place in Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah. I think Cirque is CIRQUE.
No, I was close.
I'm not sure how to spell that, so don't hold me to it. I'll put it up here on the screen so people can
And
see
day
it.
is DU.
DAY.
That is a great sentence, though. Let's put it over here so everybody can see. There we go. With my cycling skills. So cycling, how did you spell cycling? That's the question.
CYCLING.
Nice job. CYCLE would be cycle. Cycling is CYCLING. Skills, I am sure. How do you spell sure? That's a weird one.
SURE.
SURE. It sounds like it would start with an SH, but it doesn't. Sure to achieve. And what
Sir.
is important about achieve? What's the vowel team in achieve? How do you spell achieve? IEVE. So it has our vowel team IE with a V with an E at the end. Nice job, Jacob. What is your sentence?
I haven't come up with.
Okay, you got another minute to come up with one, and then we're gonna switch gears. Your words:
Deserved and celebrated.
deserved and celebrating.
I deserve to be celebrated.
You can turn the suffixes to something else if you need.
Or take them away.
I can move this down even, make it a little easier to see. I can put text on the screen.
Ooh,
It's fancy.
fancy.
And I was just gonna sign in to YouTube and look at our video to make sure that if people were commenting, we could see it. Oh, shoot,
Whoa.
mute that.
What is that?
That's us.
But it's on blank.
There we go. All right. This thing's moving around a little too much. Jacob, do you have a sentence for us? Okay, well, add that to your homework. Your
Daddy, it's like this stuff is the same kind of hard as it is for my inventive writing.
Okay.
I can't think of something about.
We'll work on something together a little later then. Deserved and celebrated. All right. Let's move on. Yesterday we went straight into math, which I think would be
Was a good idea.
a nice thing to do. So why don't you guys go ahead and get out your math? Let me change this text to say what we're going to be doing so everybody knows. Math. We're going to be working on...
6th and 7th grade math.
that down there. We're going to do about 30 to 40 minutes of math. We'll see how long this takes. And could you actually set these up behind you? All right, so for math, let me just show what we're doing. Emlyn is in Saxon Math 7-6, and we've been working through Saxon as well for a while, although I will confess, it tells you to do all the problems every day, but we don't. Jacob, what are you supposed to be doing?
I don't know.
Okay,
About math.
so why don't you, while Emlyn and I do your lesson, or our lesson, you're going to do mixed practice from your second lesson that we went over yesterday. Okay? So open up your math book. You're zoned out a little bit.
I'm so confused.
Sure.
If you're wondering what Jacob's wearing, it's a very wonderful Saudi Arabian garment called a farwal. It's a gift from the students who live with us. Hey Jacob, I want you to do all your mixed practice lessons from...
Actually, it's my far wall that I grew out
Yes, that's true, it wasn't. It's because he grew out of his. Okay, what lesson are you on?
of. Like 80 something.
80 something or other.
Oh, what are we doing?
Square roots. We did
No.
square roots with Jacob yesterday, but yours will be more
Confusing.
challenging. Did we use proportions? Did you do this one?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, of the 80.
I want your homework from yesterday. Can you get one? Okay. While I look at the new lessons. It looks like today we're going to be doing more square roots. Jacob did
No,
Introduction to
we're
square roots.
estimating today.
right. It's still square roots.
I know.
So Jacob did more square roots yesterday as an introduction to square root. Emlyn is also doing square roots today, but hers will be a more in-depth lesson talking about estimating square roots. So I'm going to slide the camera up a little bit in case anyone wants to join us. I'm going to point it towards the whiteboard so it's a little easier to see. It's bright out there, so I hope that doesn't bother me. Hello.
Oh, here you
Thank you.
go.
Okay. These guys sound like a herd of elephants over here. Alrighty, let's get rid of Ibble.
I will.
Bye, Ibble.
Would you get back to
Okay, Jacob's gonna have a quiet voice, or can work in the other room if it's hard. Start your mixed practice, please. What lesson are you on? Hey, Jacob. What lesson are you on?
90.
Open it up, please. Open your book. Jacob, open your book. There you go. It's just a very slow process today, isn't it? Alrighty. Okay. So, square roots. Actually, what we should start with is a little mental math one, shouldn't we? If we have a rectangle, and we know the perimeter, and we know one side, how would we find the other side? So, let's say this length of this side is 21 centimeters. Can we see that? Yeah, we can. Hey, Jake, open the table. Now let's say the whole perimeter, we'll use P for a perimeter, is 1 meter. What does perimeter mean?
It means the area, the area of all the sides added. No, the length of the sides added up. Sorry.
The length of all the sides added up.
So how you find it was you convert 1 meter into centimeters.
Aha! So what is 1 meter in centimeters? How many centimeters, which are about this big, are in a meter, which is about this big?
100?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you would add 21 plus 21 to figure out these two sides.
Okay, since we know it's a rectangle, we know this other side is also 21, because
Which is
those two sides
42.
are the same.
Then take 42 out of 100, which would be...
Okay, so let's do 100 minus 42. What do we get?
I can't write anything down.
Technically, it's supposed to be in your head. What's 100 minus 40?
Well, 100 minus 40 is 60.
Minus 2.
58.
There you go.
And then half of
58.
58 would be the answer.
So how do we cut 58 in half? What's half of 50?
Wait, hang on. 45.
What's half of 8?
4.
Add those together.
29.
So now we know that each of these other sides is 29. Nice. Good mental math. Is your brain working?
No, not really.
Alrighty. Jacob, every once in a while I'm going to check in with you and see what problem you're on so we can see your progress. It's okay if you have a kitty in your lap as long as she's not too
She's so
distracted.
happy.
Sorry, we got to show that. That's really cute. She was reaching up and nibbling on Jacob's chin. Was that what she was doing?
No, she was licking my chin.
All right. Okay. Problem number 1, Jake. Go ahead and get started.
Okay.
All right. And we are going to work up here. So, let's say we wanted to simplify this. Everybody can see that? That says the square root of 400.
No, don't make kitty.
Hey, you need to be quiet while we're talking, bud. Okay.
Okay.
So, in this lesson, we're going to find square roots of perfect squares that are greater than 100. And we will guess and check, okay, to estimate. Alrighty? So first, we need to find some number. We'll put a box for that number. That when you multiply that number with itself, we get 400. Okay? How would we do that?
Use math. Divide 400 by. Oh wait, no.
Let's make it easier on ourselves. This is one way to do it.
Oh, just cancel out
What's
the
the
zeros.
square root of 4?
Square root of 4 is I know that.
So what number times what
2.
number equals
Sorry,
4? There you go. It's 2. So if we know that 2 times 2 equals 4, what can we do
Just add zeros.
to get 400? Yeah, if 400, the answer has 2 zeros, that means we
20.
need 2 zeros in our problem. We need 1 0 here and 1 0 here, because when we multiply them together, we're going to get both zeros in the answer. So we know that the square root of 400 equals
20.
20. Okay. So that wasn't too bad. Let's try another one. And these will all be perfect squares. Okay? Which means
There are no mixed numbers.
no mixed numbers, no decimals, that kind of stuff. So how the heck will we find the square root of 625?
Again, math.
Okay, so we just found out that 20 times
Oh.
20, that the square root of 400 is
Okay.
20.
Well, the square root of 600 is 30. And square root
Wait.
of 25.
No. What would 30 times 30 be?
30 times 30, no, 600.
What's 3 times 3?
9. Oh, 90. Sorry.
900. So the square root of 900 is 30. So we're going to try to get somewhere in between 20 and 30. What should we try?
25?
That's a good one. Let's try it. What's 25 times 25? Let's do it. 5 times 5?
25.
That's 5 times 500.
5 times 2?
12.
10 plus 2 is 12.
Add 0.
Do the same thing this way. 5.
No, add the 0.
Okay, we can do that. 2 times 5?
10
And 2 times 2?
is 4.
Plus the 1.
It's 5.
Now we add these up.
600.
Jake, can you go in the other room, please? Or you can be quiet while we're doing this.
Oh, cool.
So we found that the square root of 625 is 25. I'll take you out of the screen. Let's do a quick review just so everybody remembers what a square root is. A square root means that if you have a square, and let's say the square has 4 rows, 4 columns, inside this square there are 16 little squares. Each side of the square will have the same number of squares because it is a square. And we've divided it equally, except that my drawing is imperfect. So the square root of 16 means what number can we multiply by itself to get 16? In this case,
4.
the answer is 4 by 4. And any square, let's say we wanted to add another row on top and another row on the side. Now we have a square that has, let's say, 25. That's another perfect square. If there were 25 squares inside of here, we would know that the square root of 25 must have the same number on this side as the top. Yeah?
Mhm.
Which would be
5.
5. Cool. So we learned to skip count the squares. Let's skip count the first 8 squares.
1, 4, 9. Wait, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
that's
it
the
was
first 8.
64.
I got behind, but yes. So the square root means what number would be on the side of the square that had that many pieces or squares inside it. That's a terrible way of explaining it. Okay.
No.
Between which two consecutive whole numbers is the square root of 20? So now we're going to use some estimating. Okay. Between which two whole numbers, Emlyn, is the square root of 20? So now what we have to do is find two whole numbers where if we find two perfect squares, then one will be above 20, one will be below 20. So let's skip count our perfect squares. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25.
25 and 16.
So the square root of 20 is somewhere between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. What's the square root of 16?
4.
What's the square root of 25?
5.
So we know that the square root of 20 is going to be somewhere between 4 and 5.
4 1/2.
Maybe. Probably not.
4 and 7/3.
Do we want to know what it is?
I bet it's 4 and 7/3.
Oh, I have to use my special calculator here. Oh, it's not rotating.
It's also off.
No, it's on.
Oh.
Why is it turning? Oh no, I can't get my special calculator. Oh well. We'll do that another time. So the answer is between 4 and 5. Okay?
I would just say put it 4 1/2 because it's exactly between 4 and 5.
We could try a couple things. We could try 4.5. What happens if we multiply 4.5 times 4.5?
5 times 5, yeah.
It's 25.
And then 5 times 4 is 20. And 2 is 22. Not it, dang it.
4 times 5
And then
is
5 is also 20. And then there. Oh, sorry. 16 is 18.
18.
Not
Oh wait,
there.
why did I put the 0? Oh, I meant to put it there. There we go. 5, 2, 0, 2. And there's 2 decimal points, so we put the decimal point, 2 over. So 4.5 is just a little bit too big.
What about just 4 times 5? Because that equals 20.
But we're finding square roots. It has to be the same number. So that doesn't work. Alrighty, let's do a couple practice problems.
Wait, the cat's eating something.
That's okay.
Okay.
She's just playing with something. Okay, a couple practice problems. Here we go. Let's find the square root of 169. Do you want to skip count them?
No.
How do you want to find it then? What's 10 times 10?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Just 7. I'm
No.
16.
Let's skip count. 1, 4, count up.
16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 120. Wait, man. 121?
Mhm.
106.
44.
44. And 168.
9.
9. Oh.
We just got to 13. So we know that 10 times 10 is 100. So the square root of 100 equals 10. So that's too small.
No, but the answer was 13.
I know. So then we could try 11 times 11,
Mhm.
which is 121. 12 times 12, 144. So we're guessing maybe it's 13 times 13. And if we multiply them together,
No, it is.
oops, we get,
That marker's.
yes it is, 169. So the square root of 169 is indeed 13. Okay, let's find the square root of 484.
Well, you guys are doing square root. That's
And we're estimating.
Alrighty, so what did we learn about the square root of 400? What was that?
20.
It was 20. So this is going to be bigger than 20.
Oh, wait.
How much bigger do you think?
Bigger.
What number do you want to try?
40. Wait. The square root of 84. And then square root.
Oh, that's not going to work.
Dang it.
What do you want to try it? What's the square root of 84?
Well, no, it won't work. What?
Because 7 times 7 is 49, 8 times 8 is 64, 9 times 9 is 81, You're not going to land on a perfect square there.
That's annoying.
So what should we try?
If you maybe. Yeah, well, obviously.
So we need to try a number, Emily.
Yes.
Just pick a number bigger than 20 a little bit.
25.
25. Didn't we already do 25 times 25?
Yes.
We
Alright.
learned that the square root of 625
Is 25.
equals 25.
So
So
what
now,
about 23? Bigger? Or
you want to try 23?
well, no, it's not
I'll
gonna.
give you a hint
No, it's not gonna be 23
because
because
we
3
would get a
and 3 is
9.
9.
Right. So
Okay.
what number?
22.
There we go.
That
So
makes
we're
much
looking
more
at the
sense.
last number, and we know that 2 times 2 is 4. Yeah. So let's do 22 times 22.
Hang on. Can you use smarter speaking?
Sorry. Yes, I will.
I'm sorry.
It's driving me nuts. Okay, 2 times 2.
4.
2 times 2.
4.
2 times 2.
4.
2 times 2.
Also 4.
What do we get?
4.
So the
Everything's
square
weeks.
root of 484 is 22. And we're using the guess and check method by trying something and seeing if it's close. Okay? Last one, biggest one, square root of 900, what is it? 61.
Okay. One has.
See if you can figure this out at home with us before we do.
Well, it'd be rather easy as I'm quite slow brain today.
All right, we are doing, so again, this is math, Saxon Math 7-6. And we've just gone over square roots. All right, so what do we know? What would the square root of 1,000 be?
Why? Nothing. The square root of 1,000, that'd be 10 times 10. Wait, 10.
Any guesses? Actually, no, let's do this way.
Use
This
my
is an
brain.
easier one. What's the square root of 900?
Square root of 900 is 30.
We would know that's 30 because 30 times 30 equals 900. Just like 3 times 2 equals 9. So this is a little bit bigger than 900.
Mm-hmm.
I do think. So, how would we, what do you want to start with guessing?
Could we round 61 to 60 and then find the square root of that? To 60.
I'll give you a hint.
Because 61's not a perfect square.
How are we
so
gonna
you have
how are we gonna get a 1 at the end of this number?
to-
You're not in the screen.
um,
How do we get a 1? What's the only way to multiply two numbers together to get a 1?
The answer is 1.
So the last number of our 2-digit number is 1. What's the first digit gotta be?
3.
So let's try 31 times 31. Should
1
we try?
times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9.
3 times 1 is what?
3. Right?
61. You said 1. We did it. Did you find the answer before us is the question. I'm sure no one did because
No, I
we are
don't-
geniuses.
Well, I don't think anyone. Wait, no.
Yeah, we got a new subscriber. Let me go see if anybody has said hi yet.
No.
Nobody has said hi yet, but if you're here, please say hi to us so we can know that
Okay.
you're here with us. What?
Oh, so this is
Two
live
people
right
watching.
now?
Yes, Jacob.
Yeah, somebody's watching, but we don't know who. That's all right. Alrighty. So, Emily, more problems. Jacob, hey, I want you to sit down, bud. Alrighty. So we are going to do a few more of these square root problems. Find each of these square roots between two consecutive whole numbers. So you're not going to find the exact number. You're going to find out which two numbers it's between. Okay? Should we write down our perfect squares first? 1
Okay.
squared is,
1,
2 squared is,
4,
3
9
squared. Let's review real quick. What does squared mean?
times itself.
Right. So 3 squared is 3 times 3. What's 4 squared?
16.
5 squared.
25.
6 squared.
36.
7 squared.
49.
Okay. So square root of 2
64.
is going to be between which two numbers?
1.
And?
No, wrong. 1 or 2.
There you go. It's going to be between 1 and 2. Because the square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 2, or the square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of 2 must be between 1 and 2. Good. What about the square root of, so we'll say it equals somewhere between 1 and 2. Okay? What about the square root of 15? It would be somewhere between, actually I should put these on a number line.
Somewhere between the square root of 4 and the square. Somewhere between 9 and 16 because math.
Somewhere between what?
These.
square root
is somewhere between the square root of 9. So if the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 16 is 4, what two numbers will the square root of 15 be between?
3 and 4.
Correct. 3 and 4. We'll put the square root of 15 will be somewhere in the middle there. Do you think it'll be closer to 3 or closer to 4?
Closer to 3.
If the square root of 3 is, or square root of 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16,
4
and
squared
we're
is
looking
bigger.
for some number squared to equal 15.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it's going to be really close to 4.
I think it'll.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so square root of 15.
I have no brain.
Because the square root of 16 is 4. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, next one. Square root of 40. What's that going to be between?
6 and 7.
Nice. Is it going to be closer to 6 or closer to 7?
Let's wait. Wait, thinking. Closer to 6.
Good. It's going to be over here. Because the square root of 6, or the square root of 36 is only
6.
4 away from 40.
And the square root of that one.
The square root of 49 is 7, which is a little farther away. Okay, let's keep getting bigger. Square root of 60. What two numbers will that be between?
8 and 9.
It will be between 8 and 9. How did you figure that out? It's actually not correct.
Because, it's not? Dang it, no way no. But 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. 49 is 7. 64.
So it's going to be
And
between
81.
the square root of 49.
7 and 8.
There you go.
Oopsie.
7 and 8. Nice. Got 2 more of these we're going to do. But now we're write a little different. We'll put the number line up here. And then I'll put the square root in the middle and you put the numbers on the outside. So square root of 70. Sorry, that's crooked.
That's fine.
Okay.
What
What two numbers is that going to be between?
Wait. This time it's actually 7 and 8.
8.
No, it's not. Dang it.
What's 8 squared?
8 squared, 64.
So that's going to be on the lower side,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same thing as the square root of 64. So what's the next number?
81.
9.
9.
What's 9 squared?
81.
81. So the square root of 64 is 9. The square root of the square root of 64 is 8. The square root of 81 is 9. So the square root of 70 must be somewhere between the square root of 64 and the square root of 81.
Closer to 8. Oh,
Mm-hmm. A little bit closer to 8.
yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's do it again. Hey, Jacob. What problem are you on, bud? Last one.
What?
Square root of 8.
No, for me.
Oh.
Well, 81 is 9. So in between 8 and 9.
What's 8 squared?
8 squared is 64.
Cool. So the square root of 64 is 8.
And 9 squared is 81.
So the square root of 81 is 9. So the square root of 80 is going to be like real close to 9, isn't it? Very close. Can you stop pounding the table, Jake? It makes it hard for us to focus over here. Thanks, bud. Alrighty. And then they ask you to use a calculator to approximate, and I'm not interested in doing that right now. Nice job. How's everybody feeling with squares, square roots, and squares? Let's see if anybody has said. Let me refresh the page. Not yet. All right.
What is that red, like the other screen you're looking at too?
I'll explain later. Okay. Squares and square roots. Is that making sense?
Yep.
Awesome. Uh-oh.
What?
Ooh,
Oh,
tricky
this will be
stuff.
fun.
Angles.
What?
Angles.
Like, do we have to use that?
Would you use your wonderful reading voice and read those two little paragraphs? Thank you.
Jakey? Turns can be measured in degrees. A full turn is 360 degrees. If you turn 360, you will end up facing the same direction you were facing before you turned. Half a turn is half of 360, which is 180. If you turn 180 degrees, you will end up facing the opposite direction you were facing before you turned. If you are facing north and turn 90 degrees, you will end up facing either east or west, depending on the direction in which you turned. To avoid confusion, we often specify the direction of a turn as well as the measure of the turn. Sometimes the direction is described as being to the left or to the right. Other times it's described as clockwise or counterclockwise.
All right, here we go. So, Layla was traveling north. On a map, which way does north usually point?
Up.
Okay, so let's start with that. Layla was traveling north. Okay? At the light, she turned 90 degrees to the left.
Wait.
Look up on the board. Let's do it up on the board.
Okay.
So, at the light, she turned 90 degrees to the left. How far is 90 degrees?
One right angle.
One right angle. So let's draw a circle. At the top of the circle, we'll put 0, which represents also 360 degrees if we went all the way around. Okay? Each of these quarters represents 90 degrees. Because if we divide 360 into 4, we get 90. However, when you add up 90 and 90, what do you get?
180.
All right, so depending on where you start from, you could also get 180 degrees. What happens if you add 90 and 90 and 90?
180 plus 90. Wait a second.
So that could be 270 degrees.
There we go.
That doesn't look very good.
Sorry.
There we go. Okay, so here we go. So she turned 90 degrees to the left, meaning she turned to the left 1/4 of the way around the circle. Now to show a right angle, we do a little box in the corner, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now she's going this way.
West. I assume one,
Which
yeah.
is west, yes. So she says she traveled 1 block to the next intersection, and at the intersection she turned 90 degrees to the left.
Now she's going north
So
again.
if she's going this way, which way is left? Up or down?
Up. Wait, no, hang on, down. Oh.
Yep, so now she turns this way, another 90 degrees. Now she's traveling this way. Okay? What direction was Layla now traveling?
West. South.
Yep. The opposite of north is south. What happens if she were going this way? She'd be going
East.
east. There you go. So, we drew the picture. Okay, next one. Andy and Barney were both facing north. Good old Barney.
Yeah.
Gotta love Barney. Okay, they're both looking north. Right? Andy made a quarter turn 90 degrees clockwise to face east.
So, right?
It tells us, yep. So there's a 90-degree turn to face east. Okay? While Barney turned counterclockwise to face east.
How
So,
many times?
so one of them turned this way, but the other one had to go all the way around this way to face east. So the question is, how far around, Emmeline? How far around is it to turn all the way around this way, which Barney did?
270.
So it's 90 to here, then 90 to here, and then 90 to here. And what you just did was 90 degrees times 3, which is
270.
270 degrees. Nice. Okay, example 3. As Elizabeth ran each lap around the park, she made 6 turns to the left and no turns to the right. What was the average number of degrees of each turn? So if she went 1 lap around the park and it had 6 turns in it to get to 360 degrees all the way around. Oops, not 36 degrees, 360 degrees. Looks like a little 6. She made 6 turns to get that 360 degrees. On average, how much was each turn?
Divide that by 3,
There you go. Divide 360.
which is 90.
Divide by what?
3.
No, she made 6 turns.
Oh, sorry, 6 then.
There you go. So what's 36 divided by 6?
6.
And we know there's a 0. So we can say 0. So each turn was how many degrees?
60.
60 degrees. Nice job. Okay, a couple more. Does it help for you to have this circle up with the degrees on it down here?
Sure.
All right. So Tammy was heading south on her bike. Do you want to draw this one?
No.
When she reached Sycamore, try to do it in your head, she turned 90 degrees to the right.
Wait a moment.
Here's the picture.
That's that direction.
Then at Highland, she turned 90 degrees to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Then at Elkin, she turned 90 degrees to the right again.
Mhm.
Assuming each of those streets were straight, which direction was she now headed?
West.
Let's try it. So she's going south. She turns right.
That's west.
That's west.
Oh, sorry, then east. The answer is
Then
east.
she turns right again. Now she's turning north.
And then east.
And she
right.
turns right again. And now she's traveling east. Very good. Okay. Last 2. Rob made 1 full turn counterclockwise. Which way is counterclockwise?
That's that way. That direction?
So the opposite of a clock. So if a clock goes one, hold on, can you stop touching that? Thank you. Look at you, sweetheart. If a clock normally goes this way, counterclock means it's going the other direction. So he made 1 full turn counterclockwise, it says. Mary made 2 full turns counterclockwise. So how many degrees did she turn?
Oh.
So if Mary went around once and then went around once again,
Wait, it's 360 plus 360.
correct, it's 360 plus, or times 2. 360 plus 360. What's that? Let's do this together. 2 times 0.
0.
2 times 6.
12. 1 up. and
2 down, 1 up. 3 times 2.
6. Again.
Plus the extra 1.
720.
So 2 times around the full circle is 720. Nice. Last one. Can I have that marker or that eraser? Thank you. Last one. Let's see if we can do this one. David ran 3 laps around the park.
Oh,
On each lap, he made 5 turns to the left and no turns to the right. What was the average number of degrees in each of David's turns? Draw a picture of the problem.
Okay. So.
Okay. So
I hate writing these things.
each lap, he took about 5 turns. It says he ran 3 laps. But on each lap, he made about 5 turns to the left.
Oh wait, not 360. 90.
Hold on, listen again. He made 3 laps all the way around the park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On each lap, he made 5 turns to the left.
Oh, 360 divided by 5.
All right, Shellis. So we're taking that full 360 degrees and we're dividing it into 5 separate turns.
No, wait. Yeah, no, 5 and 6 is 30.
What's 5 times 7? It's 30 plus another 5.
Oh, wait, 35.
There you go.
That makes sense.
7. Nice. Cool. So on average, how many degrees was each of his turns?
72.
72 degrees. And he made 5 of those, and that's how he got around the park. Cool? Nice job. It is almost 9:30, so what we're going to do is take a little break. And I'm going to put a little screen up that says we're taking a short break. If you are at home and would like to take a short break, I'd encourage you maybe get a little snack or something. Make that a little smaller, don't I? Alright, I'm going to put it up here. And we'll be back in about 5 or so minutes. Oops. Okay, we're coming back. And here we are. So far we've covered some spelling and some new math. Normally at this time we like to take a little walk because it's so nice outside. But today it's super cold, and also
Super cold.
we wanted, well, it's extra super cold. And also today we want to do a little sentence diagramming for grammar time. So we're going to do that. If you are watching and you're not familiar with grammar, or you haven't been doing it, these kiddos have been doing a lot of grammar for the last several years. Don't worry, just follow along and write what I put up on the board. Yes, Emmy?
Can I do an example?
I'm going to have you guys both come up and highlight some things up on the board, okay?
Can I
We'll do
diagram?
some labeling. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be
I don't know, but
diagramming.
like also there's also labeling directly.
Yep, that's what I just said that we're going to be doing. So I need to grab my book. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to take a grammar sentence and we're going to label all of its pieces and parts, and then we're going to diagram it. So if you've never done this before, that's all right. You can just follow along. Jacob, are you ready? Hey, can you come sit up here in the stool, please? A little bit closer. And I want your feet on the floor, as always.
Yeah.
So you don't go into sleep mode.
I'm not in sleep mode, it's just making it a little more comfortable.
Okay, let's begin. Ooh, that's a tricky one.
That's a tricky one.
I want a tricky one.
Can we do one?
Oh, you guys already did that one. What's that?
We do one roll stick.
I don't know. Those ones are a little bit tricky.
I know.
Okay.
It's very enjoyable.
Why do you fold that thing back?
Alrighty. Let me think. I'm going to change the words up a little bit. Alrighty.
Oh, we did this one in class.
I just said I was going to change it. Can you not look at this? Because this is the answers. So here's our sentence. I'm going to write the whole sentence up here in black. You don't? Okay. If you want to copy this sentence down and write this in your own paper, on your own paper, you can. Here we go. Who made you captain? So that you could pick teams.
Didn't we already do that one?
Not exactly. Okay, so there's our sentence. Who made you captain so that you could pick teams? And try and make it nice and clear up on the board. Jacob's got a pencil in one hand and an apple in the other. Ready to go. The amazing shrinking Jacob. Emily, how's yours going? All right. Who made you captain so that you could pick teams?
Is it imperative?
Will you please
Yes.
be a little more patient?
Yes.
Thank you. Alrighty, we're going to start with clauses and phrases. And I'm going to get a brown marker. Okay. How many clauses or phrases does this sentence have? Quiet feet, please.
2.
Amy, that was a question. Please don't move ahead.
Yes.
Just stay with us,
2.
okay? I asked you a question. What was it?
How many clauses and phrases are there?
Okay, how many are there?
2.
Okay. Somebody tell me one of them. Jacob.
Who made you captain?
Who made you captain? That is one complete thought. What's the other thought?
Independent clause. So that you could pick teams, the subordinate clause.
Cool. We'll talk about subordinate and independent in a second. In another color, I'm going to underline so that you could pick teams. You could also do a double underline for one of them. So we're going to do double underline for who made you captain. That is a complete thought, and it could be its own sentence. Yes or no?
Yes.
Jacob, yes or no? Who made you captain? Could that be its own sentence?
Yeah.
Yes, it could. That's why we call it an independent clause. What about this? So that you could pick teams. Could that be its own sentence?
No.
No. We call that a what?
Subordinate.
Subordinate clause. That could not be its own sentence. Okay?
Actually, you could pick teams, couldn't you?
What is the structure that we say has one independent clause and a subordinate clause put together into one
Compound.
sentence?
Complex.
I mean,
We call that a complex sentence.
no, that's compound.
It's complex.
Oh, compound is two independent.
Right. So an independent clause, who made you captain, with a subordinate clause so that you could pick teams, is called a complex sentence. So for the structure, this sentence is complex. Write that down, Jake. Let's talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of this sentence? In other words, are we making a statement? Are we asking a question? Are we stating a command? Or are we exclaiming something? Emmeline?
It's interrogative, which means it's a question.
All right, so this sentence is asking a question. What did you call that kind of sentence?
Interrogative?
Interrogative. It is one of the four purposes of sentences. So the purpose of this one is called interrogative. interrogative. If you think about the word interrogate, where the police interrogate a suspect, they're asking questions. This is an interrogative sentence, meaning you should also have a question mark at the end of it. All sentences that end in a question mark are interrogative. Okay, Jacob, are you ready to label some parts of this sentence? Alrighty, so we have, first of all, what is a subject of a sentence? The subject is, Emmeline?
The subject is that part of the sentence about which something's being said.
Okay, Jacob,
Is that correct?
could you say that again? What's a subject?
Uh,
The subject is
That.
that part of the sentence about which.
sorry. That part of the sentence about which something is being said.
Alright, so what is the part of the sentence, Jacob, about which something is being said?
Who?
Who? So, come label the who subject. Can you do this? Can you do this, bud? Who is our subject? So we're going to put an S for subject above who. I'm going to rewrite that.
Oh, well.
Jacob, what about the next phrase? So that you could pick teams. What is the subject in that sentence? You. Good. We have two subjects. Each clause or phrase has its own subject. Good. Now we have to ask, what are the verbs? Jacob? What is a verb, by the way?
A verb. A verb
Is a word.
Asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, and has another verb.
Very good. So, Jacob, in the first phrase, actually I'll ask Emmeline. In the independent clause, what is the first verb?
First verb is made.
Made. Made is a verb. We're doing an action. We're making something. Now we have to distinguish what kind of verb it is. Is it doing an action to something else? Yes or no?
Yes, it is transfer.
Okay, so, hey bud, can you sit down and start labeling your sentence now? If it's transferring an action to something, we call it a transitive verb. So somebody made you, which means they're doing something to you. We call that a VT, or a verb that is transitive. Okay? What about our next phrase, Emmeline? Do we have a verb?
Yes. I think
What?
pick is a verb. And that is could a verb too, or is could?
Yes, could,
Okay.
pick are both verbs. Except could is a special kind of verb that, hint, hint, helps another verb.
Helping verb.
So could is a verb And pick is a verb. Is pick transitive or is it intransitive? In other words, are we transferring an action to something? We're picking
transitive.
teams. Good. It's a transitive verb. Could is a verb, is a word that helps
So-
another verb. So we're calling this a verb that is helping. A helping verb. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Now we have a few other parts of this sentence. Who made you captain? So, what is the object in a sentence?
The
The direct object.
Direct object. Man, that part of sentence that I forgot.
Mm-mm.
The
The object is receiving the action
okay.
from the verb.
So in the first one, you is the direct object.
Hold on. Actually, let me ask Jacob this.
Yeah.
Jacob, what is the object receiving the action in the first independent clause here? Who made you captain? Who made you? We're not saying who made captain. Who made you? So you is what we call a
the
direct
direct
object because it's receiving the action of the verb. What about the next sentence? So that you could pick teams. Is there a direct object in that one?
Yes.
What is being picked?
Teams.
Teams. Very good. Teams is the direct object in the
Captain
second
is Ocean.
subordinate clause. Okay. Now we have something that's tricky that we've been learning about lately, which is what is captain? Captain is renaming something. Is it renaming the subject, who, or is it renaming the direct object, you?
It is.
Ellen?
Captain is renaming you because you are made captain.
Cool. Who made you? And then we're going to rename you as captain.
So it's an object complement noun.
Right. So we call that an object complement noun. We label that OCN. Object complement noun.
Throw away my apple core.
Hey, why is everyone exiting?
I have to throw
Sit
away my
down.
apple
No,
core.
no, no. Sit
My
down.
apple core.
No. Sit down. Just put it down. We're not done yet. Sit down.
I don't think it was time.
2, 1. You do not have permission just to get up and leave in the middle of something. Just put it down on the table. There you go. It's fine. Okay. We only have 2 words left, guys. What are the only words we haven't labeled, Ellen?
So that.
Jacob? What do we do with so that?
Subordinate clause. I mean, subordinating conjunction.
So words that connect a independent clause to a subordinate clause, we call these a subordinating conjunction. So that. How do we label that, kiddos?
So that there's a
C.
well, you
We'll
put
just
a little
label
bracket over it.
We'll just
and
put a
then
little
just
bracket and we'll
then
put a C over that. It's called a conjunction.
Can I
Specifically, it's a subordinating conjunction. Yes, Emily?
could I diagram a sentence for you?
So first we're going to decide what is the pattern. This is PU for purpose. This is PA for pattern.
Poop hat.
So what we do is we take these labels and we call it a pattern. So the first phrase, the first clause, what's the pattern, Jacob?
Oh, the pattern
The pattern.
is SVTDOCN.
SVTDOOCN. That's the first one. Then in parentheses, we'll put the subordinate clause, which is
SVTDO.
S, we'll skip the VH, VTDO. How many patterns are there?
7.
Oh, I'm going to sneeze. There are 7 main basic patterns
No, there's only 2 in that.
No, I mean the
total in existence.
Oh, in existence.
That we studied. Yeah, maybe there's more.
I hope
Okay,
there's more beans.
now it's time to diagram this sentence. And Emily loves to diagram. We all know it. All right, let me just explain something real quick. When we diagram a sentence, each phrase or clause has its own line. So we'll put the independent clause up here and the dependent clause or subordinate clause down here. Oops, my lines are a little angled here. I'm going to write the main lines. And what we do is we put each word in the sentence in its own special place. So Emily's going to go for it here. So the first thing we put down is the subject. The subject of the first is who. Then we put a vertical line, and we put the verb, made. And we put another vertical line, and we put the direct object. Can you scoot over just a little bit? The direct object, which is you. And then when we have an object complement noun,
There's a straight line? Or is it selected?
slanted.
Yeah, 'cause
There you
it's-
go. Because we're renaming you Captain. Good. Wait.
Well, no, wait, not off of you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it off of you?
No.
Okay, cool.
Now we put some dotted lines for our coordinating conjunction. And it comes off of made because we'd say, who made so that? Jacob?
I have my
Put your
handwriting.
feet down.
Wait, can't even read that.
That's all right. I'm going to do this.
Thank you. I can't write something.
So-
like this.
This is the conjunction. Now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom line where we put the subject of the second of the subordinate clause, you. Jake, have you diagrammed it yet? You. Now we have our two verbs, could, pick.
What's wrong with the marker?
I don't know. And then we have our direct object, teams. Teamed.
Tint. Good pick tint.
Could pick teams. All right. So, if you've never diagrammed a sentence, you just diagrammed your first sentence. We have our independent clause up here. It could be its own sentence. We have our subordinate clause down here. We have all of our words separated into their groups, and we have our conjunction between. Good job, everybody. I'm going to look and see if anyone has said hello or has any questions.
Are we going to do writing next?
Next, we are going to work on our writing. How'd it go, Jake? You get everything diagrammed? Nice job.
Can we go through away my apple core now?
What's that?
Can I throw away my apple core now?
Yes, you
Oh.
I think we should do a little kitty break. Tucker, come say hi. We got two kitties right here. Oh, do you have kitties too? Because we do.
They're like, why are we here?
This is Tugger, our orange kitty, and he is a little bit bigger than Jenny, our little tabby kitty.
They're both tabbies.
Well,
That one's a great tabby.
they are brother and sister, and they hang out all the time. They are, how old are they, Jacob?
Maybe a couple months.
6 months.
We got them when they were 6 months, and we've had them just over a month, so they're a little over 7 months. Oh, and they're so playful, and they're so sweet. They like to be petted. Do you think you'd like that if someone was doing that to your head?
Not at all.
Oh, this moves the opposite direction.
Aren't their faces so pretty? If you're wondering where they got their names, we adopted them and they already had their names. Their full names are, this is Jenny Any Dots, and it's from a book of poems about cats by T.S. Eliot, and Rum Tum Tugger is his name. And those names are also used in the musical Cats. Oh, Tugger's loving this. I think both kitties can't get enough of this right now. You having a good
What are you
time?
doing, Jake?
I don't know.
It's just fun to look at yourself, right? It's like a mirror, except it's backwards.
Actually, the mirror is the thing backwards.
Okay, you want to take one of these kitties? You want to take Jenny? Our kitties are so compliant. They just like to lay around and be petted anytime.
He's right in my ear.
Oh gosh. Blood. All right. What are you looking
This.
at? Okay, so what I think we will do is we'll do writing, and then we're going to take a little walk after writing to get out of the house. Because it's so nice outside, and hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer by then. She's just accepting it. And she always does. Okay. Let's talk about writing.
This is very important. One moment.
Bye bye, kitties.
Funny
It's
dog.
very important. Okay, writing.
It's a seal.
But also puppy.
No, not Josh. We have to.
I'll explain. Don't worry, I'll explain. There we go. Okay, can you put Jenny down and then can you put Jenny down and get out your outline that you worked on yesterday? Thanks, buddy. Okay, so if you're following along, oh no, Emmeline,
What?
look at that marker.
Oh, lovely.
Oh no, I have to work so hard.
Apologize. Okay, but Daddy, first look at this.
Please put the computer away.
Oh, it's amazing.
We
though.
can share that with everyone.
I already did.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that marker because it's stinky and it doesn't erase good. All right. So yesterday, Jacob, what did we work on yesterday?
Yesterday. Working.
On that.
Rough drafts.
Outline.
We worked on our outlines. Today we're working on rough drafts. And we outlined 2 paragraphs. What were they, Emily? Hey, this way. Okay. What did we outline?
Introduction and conclusion.
Introduction and conclusion. So, if you are following along and you'd like to write with us for a little bit, if you wrote an introduction or conclusion with us yesterday, you can continue on that. If you didn't, I'll explain what they are, and you can even just do some free writing. So here's what we're doing. Let me make sure everything's...
Oh my gosh, Dad, look at
my
it.
water.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Jacob, do you have your outlines out? So my kiddos are writing reviews on a story that they read, and then they... Hey, Jacob, quiet voice for a sec. And then you guys wrote summaries of 3 paragraphs of a summary of the story. And now we're adding an introduction to the beginning and conclusion to the end. Pausing. So the 2 paragraphs we're outlining, just as a reminder, and Jacob, I'll go over which one is that one?
That's the introduction.
The introduction. Okay, let's talk about the introduction. The introduction should have a first sentence that does what?
It's
It's the attention giver, okay? Then we're going to have a sentence, since we're critiquing a story, then we're going to have a sentence that says who is the author. And is that when we also said the publication date? Publisher and the date, or was that the next sentence?
Yeah.
Jacob, it should say right beside.
So that's sentence 2.
Oh, the author and the title. Sentence 2 says who published it and the date it was written. What's sentence 3, Jake? It says right there. Can you read it? Feet on the floor and sit up. Sit up. Okay. What's sentence 3?
Sentence 3 is type of story.
The type of story. So we're going to describe what type of story. What's sentence 4?
Sentence 4 is type of background.
So we're going to tell a little bit of background maybe about the story or about the author or where the story comes from. Is there a sentence 5?
Yeah, but it doesn't say what.
Sentence 5 is optional for more. Can you sit up, please? Jake, sit up. Sentence 5 is an option for more information on the background. Okay? Turn your page to your conclusion, Jacob. I'm going to put conclusion up here in case people want to write a conclusion too. So what's the first sentence of your conclusion supposed to be?
It doesn't.
In the box to the left.
Box.
Mm-hmm.
Begin with your overall impression.
So, one sentence about your overall impression of the story. Then what?
What do you like and dislike about the story? Why?
What you like or dislike in a sentence. Then what?
Comments may be related to characters, conflict, climax, resolution,
So
or
you can
style.
talk about characters, etc. You can talk about all the things for a few sentences. What point do we want to change what we're writing about? What does the story teach? So we want a couple sentences about things we like or don't like, and then what does the story teach? Maybe lessons or morals, and then what should the end of our paragraph be about? What does it say? It says, do you what?
Do you agree with the message? Why is an important message, and anyone could benefit from understanding why?
And then we're going to finish with a clincher, and what does the clincher do?
Clinches. Yes.
It repeats.
It repeats 2 to 3 keywords from the topic.
2 to 3 keywords from our topic sentence. All right. So Jacob, I want you to start writing your rough draft of your conclusion. I've put these up here so that if you're at home and want to write along, think of a story that you've read. Maybe it's a book you're reading, and you can write an introductory paragraph that starts by getting people's attention about what you're talking about. And since this is a critique of a story, you'd want to explain who the author is and the title in the first sentence. The kitties are racing back and forth. Then you would say who the publisher is and the date it was published, which you can find inside the book on the first couple pages. You can talk about what type of a story it is. Is it fiction or nonfiction, historical or non-historical, or maybe another genre? Ours was sort of a legend or a tale. And then you could, if you know a little bit of background, you could write about where the story came from or why the author wrote it. Hey, Jacob, are you going to type or handwrite your rough draft?
Probably type.
Okay, get out the keyboard. Is the iPad still dead, or did you plug it in?
Oh, it's dead.
Okay, you'll have to handwrite then. So can you get out a piece of paper, please?
But we can just charge it or use a different
You can
device.
plug it in and get it charging, but while you're waiting, you'll need to... Oh, here, where's the charger? Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly get the extension cord. Then for the conclusion paragraph, if you're going to... Then what we did is we actually wrote 3 paragraphs on the inside that sort of summarize the story. So if you wanted, you could actually write a little summary of the story. The first paragraph would be about the characters and the setting. Second paragraph would be about what's the main conflict of the story. And the third paragraph would be about how the story is resolved. We call that the resolution. And then the final paragraph, which we're also working on today, we waited till the end, is called a conclusion. And that's the one where you give a sentence using some good descriptive words of what your general impression of the story is. You talk about what you like or disliked about the story, and you can reference the characters or the plot. That's another good thing to talk about. You could write about a lesson the story teaches and whether or not you agree with that lesson. And then find some sentence that you can write at the end that uses 2 to 3 keywords from this first sentence of your general impression to remind people of what you thought of the story. All right, we're going to give you some time to work on that. If you want to do that, you can do it along with us. We'd love to see what you wrote as well if you wanted to share it or what you're writing about. You can also, hey, can you stop? You can also just do some free writing, creative writing, if that sounds more fun. These kiddos have blogs, which we would share probably at some point. This might be a good thing to put up on your blog, which you haven't posted in a while.
That's a good idea.
We'll do that after it's done. All right, I'm going to put our audio on pause, and you can go ahead and spend some time writing. All right. Hey, we're going to take a second and let Emmeline share some of the rough drafts she's been working on, as well as Jacob, what he's been working on.
Hi.
All right. So, Emmeline, did you write both the introduction and conclusion?
Yes.
All right. Can you read us your introduction to your review of Genghis Khan and his hawk?
I am close to being.
Sorry. Go ahead, sweet. Wait.
Okay. This is the story of Umharder. The original author is unknown, but the retelling is by me. It was published by IDW in 2018. The story is a medieval legend with a moral. The main characters are Genghis Khan and his steadfast hawk.
Excellent. Do you want to read
Sure.
the story? Okay, go for it.
Commencing in the 1200s, the story takes place while the Mongolians were fiercely ruled by Genghis Khan. It states the fact that when he was not in the throes of battle, he enjoyed hunting. Typically his one and only partner in this perilous sport was his hawk. Khan, who often had a rash temper, was foremost a ruler and second a thinker. This was his fatal flaw. The conflict in the story first comes up when the king has pursued a deer unusually far out into the forest. He emerges into a barren landscape and quickly becomes thirsty. After a time, he hears a trickling and follows the sound to a minute waterfall. Attempting to fill his cup proved to be extremely difficult because whenever he raised the cup to his lips, the hawk would swoop down and knock it from his hand. This happened 2 more times, and with each he became more and more furious. On the third time was so irate he plunged his sword into the bird's chest. It was ghastly. Since he was still in a foul temper, he felt no remorse. By this time, the trickle of water had lessened till it was just a drip. He climbed up a path that led to the headwaters. Unfortunately, in them he found the body of a dead viper, and the poison from its glands was seeping into the water in which he had been about to drink. This meant that his ever-faithful hawk had just been trying to protect him, not harm him. Falling to his knees, he was overcome by grief. As he plodded home that day, he realized he had indeed lost a friend, but also learned a valuable lesson. The story was thrilling, but there were a few flaws. For one, they did not go into much detail about the characters' personalities. Also, when the hawk dies, he should have felt a little more grief if they really were the finest of friends. It was slightly unrealistic that the hawk would know about the poison in the water. But other than those critiques, it was intriguing.
Nice. That was your whole thing. So that was your introduction, your 3 body paragraphs, and your conclusion.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well typed. Hey, Jacob, could you read to us what you've got? You've been working on your conclusion, right?
Hang on, I have to finish this sentence real quick.
Okay, this sentence real quick. So just a reminder, this is our introductory paragraph, and this is our conclusion paragraph. We are following, in case you're wondering, the Institute for Excellence in Writing curriculum. And they sort of create these outlines for us and give us the stories, and so we just do the assignments as we follow along. The next step will be to go through on what they call dress up our different paragraphs, where we add all sorts of stylistic improvements to what the kiddos have already written. Jacob, are you ready to share?
Hang on. Okay.
All right. Let me turn this so you can see you. Alrighty. Why don't you read us what you've written? Do you want to read?
It's not a complete paragraph, though. The last paragraph isn't complete. That's why it sounds kind of.
No worries. Just read what you got so far.
Okay. I haven't got my introduction either. Genghis Khan and his hawk. This story takes place in the story takes place in the 1200s in the Mongolian forest. The main characters are Genghis Khan and his hawk. Genghis Khan was known as a ruthless ruler of the Mongols, but he had a short temper and acted rashly sometimes. For the hawk's part, it was best friends with GK. They were content and happy hunting in the woods. The conflict of the story is GK is thirsty. It isn't credible to follow how a single thing like being thirsty can cause so much wrong. He could hear the faint trickling of water nearby. He foolishly attempted to fill his cup with water. You might not know why this was foolish. But the end of the story explains that. Upon seeing him, the hawk swooped down and knocked the cup out of his hands. He tries again, but the hawk was yet again too fast for him. That made Kong angry. He drew his sword. The next time the hawk dived for the cup, Kong swung his sword at the bird. The blow instantly killed the hawk and dropped to the ground, dead. Wait,
That's correct.
and it. Hang on.
I'm gonna add an it.
Okay. Genghis Khan, victorious, headed for the headwaters of the stream, but to his dismay, there was a dead viper rotting in the center of the pool. He suddenly realized that the hawk was trying to save him. He grieved for his friend as he slung the dead bird over his shoulder. He had lost his best friend, learning a valuable lesson in the process: never act in anger. This is an insightful story with a tragic twist. The main character is intriguing because he was a real person. The hawk is admirable because he or she, I'm not sure which, was a trusty and loyal hawk. However, the story was quite unrealistic, especially the greatness of the hawk's mental capacity. The part of the climax that he finds the dead viper wasn't very exciting.
All right. Do you have more?
To be continued.
What are your last sentences to be about for your conclusion?
All the flaws.
The flaws of the story?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you keep working on that for a little bit, and then we're going to get outside and go on a walk. So we've got a little more time.
I don't like you, Mr. Kitties.
All right, so we have finished our creative writing, and it's elective time, and in a little bit we have a Spanish lesson online with a lady in Mexico. So we're going to be signing off here for the day. As always, if you have questions or things you'd like to see or participate in, please let us know, and we'll be just committing to posting our school days for a while. If you're at home with kids needing something to think about or do but don't know how to do that, you're welcome to join along. All right, we will see you next time.